The question about access to capital is one that I get a lot. It's a question that lots and lots of business owners have, especially earlier in their growth. It does happen later. But it's a little bit different conversation. Where we have to start is really understanding what our cash flow needs really and truly are. And we have to understand. So one of the things I think when I was in the restaurant industry, as a matter of fact, one of the things that we talked about was getting enough capital, for the first year. So that looks like salaries, expenses, et cetera, and raising that kind of cash. And it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I think that in reality, what we really need to do is think in terms of not just that, but what investments we need to make in order to make the company work. One of the challenges I've seen happen with companies repeatedly is they don't have a system in place for business development. They're not necessarily thinking as far down the road about marketing and sales and how to really drive revenue into their organizations. And a lot of times, they're underinvested. And so, they're saying, okay, I'm going to spend, X amount of money, rather than going to the marketing agency or going to the agency and say, how much should I spend? How much should I invest? And then, of course, the other end of that is, what does that look like on the other end of the spectrum? A lot of times I see, the stories about business owners that start companies with $10,000, $20,000, et cetera, et cetera. But many of us, frankly, bootstrap. We start from sitting on the kitchen table and we start with nothing. It was interesting. I had an opportunity to meet one of the a gentleman, name not coming to mind, but his company started out by simply sitting at his kitchen table, and I've heard the story multiple times from multiple people, just sitting at his kitchen table with his wife, and they just start working on something, and they start basically handing it out or sending it out to people, and just finding ways to their JD Power had an opportunity to just I sat next to him, I think. But it's really interesting hearing his story, how he started literally on his kitchen table and started from the ground up. He was literally putting $1 and a survey into an envelope and sending it to people in order to get their feedback, in order to create this award system that we now know about today. Okay. Not every company is going to start out with lots and lots of money. So, that's first and foremost. But the big question is, how do we get access to the capital that we need in order to grow our companies? We plan, we understand how much we need, we understand how much we're going to get in return, so we can make sure that, we can pay off whatever it is that we have to pay off. But then the process is really it's almost like a sales process. So if you're going to go to investors, if you're going to go to friends and family, if you're going to go to a bank, if you're going to go to other types of lending institutions, more traditional, I should say, lending institutions, what you're going to do is you are going to create that story around your business, that's going to make people want to invest, and I have seen where a company did not have a product, did not have a service, had an idea, okay, only on paper or on computer, and I saw them raise over $100,000, and it took 3 months, 6 months, something like that, and I see them continuing to grow their organization and continuing to attract other investors, other people, and the reason for this is because they're able to sell their product. They're able to sell themselves. People like them a lot. People like their idea a lot and are willing to invest in the front end. So if you have a business, if you have a business for which you're trying to raise money, you want it to be attractive. You want what you're selling to make sense. You want for people to say, oh my gosh, this is something I can really get behind. I saw a couple willing to put their house, get a second mortgage essentially on their house in order to invest in a project that I was working on. And it was interesting. It was a great product. It was a great idea for a product. And the way that we sold the story, the way that we got people to invest was to tell a great story. So whether you go into when you're working with investors in particular, I mean, that's going to be more of that conversation. But you've got to be able to package. You've got to understand who you're borrowing from, what their expectations are, what their needs are. And I got to tell you, I've worked with some what is it called, merchant loan people. People that have very high interest rate loans, and they take money out of your bank every week, or every month, or every couple of weeks, or whatever. Or they take money from your credit card machine, like for every transaction. I have to say, very, very clearly, this is loan sharking. This is how people with money take advantage of other people, and they put those people that are being taken advantage of in a very, very difficult situation. It's like desperation sometimes makes people make decisions that they wouldn't otherwise make. And we have to be very, very careful, very, very cognizant of those types of scenarios, because the idea isn't for you to get into that loan and pay it off. The idea is for you to get into that loan, not be able to pay it off, get into another loan to pay off the first loan, okay, and then continue paying that off. And then you work with a business debt advisor who's also going to take money out of your pocket and also go, and it's just a vicious cycle, and people go down this road and they never come back from it, and they go into bankruptcy and this and that, and they lose personal possessions, they lose their businesses, et cetera, et cetera. It's definitely not worth it. Okay, traditional banks, they're going to be much safer for you. Working with personal friends and family, working with investors, angel investors, whatever that's going to look like. That's probably crowdfunding. Those are definitely going to be better options for you. Obviously, I'm not an investment advisor, and I can't advise you, on the specifics of what you need to do. But what I would say is, it's most important to do your homework. It's most important to plan accurately as you can. It's very important to have a story about why your business is viable, why it makes sense, why people would want to invest in it before you raise a single dollar. Okay? So hopefully this is helpful for you. Hopefully it's helpful for somebody. Hopefully it's encouraging to you. Hopefully you stay away from those loan sharks out there, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Be good to yourself. Thanks for watching.